cab sav, bruh. I hate myself for saying that out loud. Welcome to Brunch with Bryan, the show where I cook, I drink, and Santa hats. So today we're going to be making eggnog. We're drinking wine now, but we're making eggnog for later. I hear the Catholic Church gives this out to all of their people.
Yes.
So let me replay you quickly what Stephanie just did. She picked up her wine glass, took a sip of air, and then put it back down without getting any wine in her mouth.
Just need some air, man.
So today we're making two different kinds of eggnog. We're doing one raw dog.
What does that mean? Does it raw eggs?
Yeah, you just crack open eggs and do. So the first one we're going to make today is a raw eggnog, and the second one is going to be partially cooked eggnog. Now, both of these recipes require very few ingredients, just a couple of eggs, some whole milk, some cream, some seasonings like nutmeg, clove, cinnamon, and vanilla. And the one constant thing on this show other than my shitty jokes, booze. So today we're going to use Kraken in one of our eggnogs, and then we're going to use Evan Williams bourbon in another one. Now, I went on the cheaper side with the bourbon because when it comes to mixing, you don't really need a higher end bourbon. Most of your flavor is going to be coming from the eggnog itself and not the bourbon. So let's get started. Yo! Look at you! Cheers! Seasonings! Well, I gotta need some eggs. For both eggnogs, we're gonna start off the exact same way. We need to separate 4 eggs. Now, there are a few different ways to separate your eggs. You have number 1. Number 1 is crack your egg. And then we take it, we open up the shell, and we dump it into our hand, and we let it flow through our fingers as we hold them just ever so gently apart. We end up with 1 egg yolk. I'm going to shake my hand a little bit, make sure everything got through. We have this 1 egg yolk. So I have a small mixing bowl and a large mixing bowl. I'm putting the egg whites into the smaller mixing bowl and the egg yolks into the larger one. Egg separation number 2. So the next way to separate eggs is to crack it open, get it right down the middle, split it open, and now what we want to do is we want to toss back and forth our egg yolk between the 2 sides. And this is the more difficult for some people, but as you do that, the egg white drops down out of the shell and you end up with only an egg yolk. And now we can dump that in. Weird. Way to separate eggs number 3. So the third way to separate your egg is to take something like a skewer or something sharp and pokey. And we want to take our egg and we just want to take one of the ends and do a quick jab. And we just want to poke a hole in the bottom of it. And now we just let that drain out. Now this way I hate the most because it takes the longest. So what usually I end up doing is just getting upset with it and poking a larger hole and covering it with my thumb. So if you use something with a smaller point, you're going to have a harder time. So I just use something with a little bit of a larger point and let it drain out that way. And now after your egg is drained, crack it open on the bottom side. And you drop out your yolk. And way to separate an egg number 4 requires a water bottle with no water in it. So for the last one involving the water bottle, we want to take a small saucer and we want to crack an egg onto that. Now you always want to make sure that you crack an egg on a flat surface like a counter, because if you crack it on the edge of a bowl, you'll end up with more possibility of a shell going inside of your egg. Now the last thing we want to do for this is we take the bottle, we squeeze it, and we place the end of the bottle over the egg yolk. And then we let go so it suctions up the egg yolk into the bottle. This works. That seriously worked. So now you take your egg yolk, you dump it into your bowl. Now this is garbage. Now all we need to do is take our saucer And dump our egg white into the dish. And now we're gonna set our egg whites off to the side, and we're gonna work with our egg yolks for right now. Here comes the fun part. Now we need to whisk. So we wanna whisk this up for about a minute or two until we get a nice and fluffy texture. And now the next step is we want to take 1/3 of a cup of sugar, drop that into our mixed up egg yolks. Boop. Now that we've added our sugar, we want to make sure that this is nice and incorporated. So we're going to have to whisk again for a little while. Wine and whisking. Once your sugar is incorporated into your egg yolks, now we want to take 2 cups of whole milk, 1 cup of heavy cream, 4 ounces of either dark rum or bourbon. For this mixture, we're going to go ahead and use Kraken dark rum, and then our seasonings. 1 cup of whole milk, 2 cups of whole milk, Back in the fridge, motherfucker. 1 cup heavy cream, Why the f*** did I decide to turn into the count? Release the Kraken! So we're gonna do about 4 or 5 shots into our mixture. And if the eggnog's getting cracking, I'm getting cracking too. Nutmeg. Oh. And now we want to drop in a teaspoon of vanilla extract. We want to put in 1/4 of a teaspoon of ground clove, a teaspoon of nutmeg, and a 1/2 teaspoon of cinnamon. Now we want to whisk all of this together. Now after you're done whisking that, it's time for more wine. We want to whisk our egg whites until we have soft peaks. This is why I need a stand mixer. Whisking and wine. So now after you've whisked for what feels like for forever, it's time to add in your tablespoon of sugar and whisk some more. So now once you've whisked until your arm has fallen off and you have lovely peaks on the inside of your bowl, now all we need to do is fold this into our egg mixture that we have with our seasonings and our rum. And now we just want to transfer this into a container. The very last step is refrigerating this and trying not to drink it before it gets chilled, because it's f***ing tasty. So now with our cooked eggnog, we're going to do essentially the same thing at the beginning. We're going to whisk in 1/3 of a cup of sugar into our already whisked 4 egg yolks. Whisking and wine. Now we want to take 2 cups of milk and 1 cup of cream and heat that inside of a small saucepan with our seasonings. And now we're going to use the exact same seasonings we used for the raw mixture. Now for those of you that were not paying attention, and now we want to drop in a teaspoon of vanilla extract, a teaspoon of nutmeg. We want to put in 1/4 of a teaspoon of ground clove and a 1/2 teaspoon of cinnamon. Now we cook this. Now we want to heat this mixture up, stirring it occasionally until it gets to boiling. So once your milk and cream mixture is boiling, we want to go ahead and drizzle that into our egg yolks. Now this will do what's called tempering the egg yolks. So it's going to kind of cook them without them getting hardened because we're using just liquid that's barely boiling. Pour it in a little bit at a time. Fortunately enough, after cooking this and putting it into our egg yolk mixture, our temperature was brought up to 160, which is what you want to be at. Anything higher than 160 will start to burn off your alcohol. Now we're going to mix this with our bourbon and then refrigerate it. And while that's being refrigerated, we're going to take our egg whites and whisk those with a tablespoon of sugar until we get those firm peaks like last time. After we get those firm peaks, we're going to mix this in with our chilled mixture and it's ready to serve. My God, this already smells like hot, boozy Christmas. And now we do the oh so fun whisking of our tablespoon of sugar into our egg whites. So once you've whisked your egg whites with the sugar, you can go ahead and mix in with your chilled mixture that you set aside. Now we're not going to be trying that one today. That one's for a different video. But today we're trying the raw stuff. So Steph, come on over. All right, cheers.
Cheers.
Ooh, that tastes like Christmas.
Yes, happy holidays.
Cheers.
Cheers.
So this has been it for another episode of Brunchin with Bryan. Hopefully you get to enjoy your holidays with those you love. If you're not able to, feel free to watch the rest of my videos. Cheers to you. So make this eggnog and get to brunchin'. So if you enjoyed this video, go ahead, hit that like button, hit subscribe, and comment down below and let me know what you think the next thing I should be making is. Bye! God damn, that's good.